Hi, I'm David Shannon. I'm here to talk about human rights and disability law. We're of course speaking in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis as it sweeps now across Europe, USA, and Canada. We're all deeply concerned about everyone's families, our communities, and at risk are people with disabilities, those with pre-existing conditions, the elderly, and what are their needs. Today, I'm going to speak from a disability perspective. We've heard much in the media at all levels, and today I want to talk about what I'm hearing from the community, which is a lot of people with disabilities are at home. They can't get any care. A lot of them cannot get their basic personal protective equipment, such as gloves or masks. They're frightened. They're also isolated. They can't reach family, they can't reach friends. And so if you can imagine just about everybody who can maybe call a cab or have their own car, many people with disabilities and the elderly rely on other people to do that. It's going from feeling alone to feeling lonely. And so I wanted to talk about that today. And today I really just wanted to get the dialogue started. There's a lot of people with some very good ideas, but I don't want our concerns to turn to crisis for people with disabilities living in their homes. So I'm going to propose 3 ideas for you to think about. The first is to understand that Article 11 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities says, and I'm paraphrasing, that in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, each country at the United Nations is supposed to take care for the protection and safety of persons with disabilities. So if people are at risk in their own home, care needs to be provided at their home. So the best way to meet that, I believe, is that now very old principle of nothing about us without us. Don't set policy. Don't try to find answers for people living independently in the community who have disabilities or the elderly without talking to them. We need meaningful dialogue. So immediately, I suggest a task force be struck which will address the needs of persons with disabilities in our community within the larger context of the COVID-19 crisis. Have persons with a disability as spokespersons and filters to the community be able to engage meaningfully in order to create that policy, that critical policy, which has to not only be done on the fly, but has to be thoughtful. Politicians cannot do it, bureaucrats cannot do it without engaging with civil society and meaning people with disabilities. We live it, we breathe it, we know it. Number 2, I've been hearing throughout the community, people are very afraid that their personal support workers, their home care workers won't come into the home because they're concerned about transmission of the virus. And so people are being stuck at home without care, without an ability to get their food, without an ability to get their medication. It's pretty scary. It's a pretty scary time. I suggest number 2 is all personal support workers and all home care workers who come into people's homes should get bonus pay during the period of this COVID crisis. I suggest, as a marker, if individuals come in more than 120 hours in any 4-week period, then they should be given immediately a bonus. Something similar to what we might call a Christmas bonus, only make it in March and April bonus, a May bonus. And that needs to be considered. They are, and I'm speaking as a person with a disability, are partners in independence. They are the very fabric that creates the breath that gives us activities of daily living that other people take for granted. Lastly, as surely as it's critical and high priority to get personal protective equipment to the hospital, for people with a disability who are at risk, who have pre-existing conditions, and also the elderly, they should be given personal protective equipment for their home care workers and personal support workers, and also for themselves. It needs to be the highest priority. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? Not only are the people at risk quite possibly going to end up in hospital with COVID-19, if they don't have access to gloves and other basic medical equipment, they might end up in overwhelming the hospital with medical issues that are unrelated to COVID-19. So you have a double whammy, a surge due to COVID-19 and a surge due to medical issues unrelated. I don't think our healthcare systems, which are on the brink of collapse in many parts of North America, I don't think they could handle something that could be so easily prevented, which is to allow assistance to continue in the homes of people with disabilities, in the homes of the elderly, so we can continue to live independently. Now, I hope that this starts dialogue, and a lot of people have already a lot of good ideas. I'm going to show you a link where there's already a list of recommendations. There's recommendations coming throughout the world. And we know the very scary stories that are happening where people don't have their dignity and human rights respected and as a result, don't get treatment for COVID-19. Please read these recommendations. And for those of you at this time are feeling apprehension, feeling unwell, and need mental health supports, I'm also going to provide some links and some phone numbers for you to reach out to support you at this time of very difficult mental health and well-being. Everybody, I hope you're well. I'm thinking of all of you. I reach out to friends and family. If you can, please do it. Never feel alone. Be well.